Welcome to the Bodhi Academy. Today we are going to solve PYQ questions from chapter Human Health and Diseases. So the first question for today's PYQ solution is, your classmate complains of cough and headache. The doctor confirms that he is suffering from a common cold and not pneumonia on the basis of certain symptoms. So deduce any two of these symptoms. So let's start solving the question. Okay, so in this question, what we have to do is we have to differentiate why the doctor has suggested that the boy is having common cold and not pneumonia. So how we can differentiate this? So first we have to write the symptoms of the diseases. So the symptoms of common cold are mild fever, mild chest congestion, mild difficulty in breathing. So these are the symptoms of common cold. Then pneumonia causes high fever, high chest congestion and high difficulty in breathing. So the person who was suffering from common cold had these symptoms. So this is how the doctor has advised that the person is suffering from common cold and not from pneumonia, because the person was having or the person was showing this symptoms. So based on the symptoms, we can differentiate between the common cold and pneumonia in a person suffering from the disease. So the second question is, we need to write how can you define or how does the innate immunity works in human beings. So first we should know what is the definition or what is the meaning of innate immunity. So innate immunity is basically a non-specific type of defense system which is present in the human being from the time of birth. So this has three barriers. That is how these barriers will help in producing innate immunity. The first is the physical barrier, then the chemical barrier, and third is the cellular defense. So the first is physical barrier. So we have skin, mucous membrane, cilia in the respiratory tract. So these are some physical barriers that protects our body from the pathogens or bacteria causing harm to the body. That is, we have skin, then we have mucus in our stomach, then we have cilia in the respiratory tract inside the nostrils. So these are some examples of physical barrier. Then comes the chemical barrier. Chemical barriers are basically chemicals or secretions which are secreted inside our body, which helps in protecting the body from the germs or the pathogens, bacteria, viruses that enters into our body that can cause harm. So examples of chemical barriers in our body is saliva that is secreted in our mouth, then the tears that protects our eyes, then stomach acid. So inside our stomach, hydrochloric acid is produced which helps in protecting the body from the germs that enters into our stomach through the food that we eat. Then third is cellular defense. So cellular defense is basically the cells which are produced inside the body which helps in protecting the body from germs. So the best example for this is WBCs, that is white blood cells, which are produced inside our body which helps in the protection of the it helps in killing the germs that enters our body. So they are like the soldiers in our immune system. So hence white blood cell helps in increasing the immunity of human beings. So this was about innate immunity and how innate immunity works in human beings. So let's move to the next question. Okay, let's move to the next question. So the next question is, what is an antibiotic and how was it discovered, or who had discovered it? So let's start with the solution. So antibiotics are basically substances that is derived from microorganisms or synthesized artificially, which helps in inhibiting or destroying the growth of microorganism, pathogen, bacteria, viruses, which causes damage to the human body. So antibiotic was discovered by Alexander Fleming in 1928. So he was the scientist who discovered the first antibiotic in 1928. So let's move to the next question. The next question is, name and differentiate the two types of tumors and describe any two treatment methods. So the tumors are of two types. First is the benign tumor and the second one is the malignant tumor. So basically, benign tumors are non-cancerous, grow slowly, do not spread to the other parts of the body, and usually they are harmless. And malignant tumors are cancerous. They grow rapidly, invades nearby tissues. That is, they will cause the nearby tissues to become cancerous cell. They can spread to the other parts of the body if this is happening in the, for example, if this is happening in the ovaries, then it can spread into the uterus. So it can damage the other part of the body also. But for example, benign tumor is happening in the ovary, then it will remain in the ovary only. So that is why it is less harmless compared to the malignant tumor. So malignant tumor, if it is kept untreated, it can be life-threatening. So, what are the methods? So, it is told to mention two methods for the treatment. So, two methods which are used for the treatment is, first is surgical method, wherein surgically the tumor is removed from the part where the tumor has been formed, and the chemotherapy, wherein certain chemicals are used for the treatment of the cancerous cells. So, these are the two types of cancerous cells, that is two types of tumors, and the two types of treatment methods which we can use in treating those tumors. Let's move to the next question. The next question is, why is HIV called a retrovirus, and mention any two preventive measures of this disease. So HIV is basically human immunodeficiency virus. So, human immunodeficiency virus causes HIV in human beings. So, why is it called as a retrovirus? It is called as a retrovirus because it uses RNA as a genetic material, then uses enzyme reverse transcriptase to convert its RNA into DNA inside the host cell. So that is why it is called as a retrovirus, because it uses enzyme reverse transcriptase to convert its RNA into DNA inside the human body. That is the host where the virus infects. So the two methods to prevent this disease is, it is a sexually transmitted disease, so using protection while having sexual activity is advisable. And the second method is, you should not use syringes and needles which are used before for the other patients. So this is how it can be prevented. So let's move to the next question. So the next question is, in case of a venomous snake bite, an injection is given to the patient. What does the injection contain? So let's start with the answer. So the injection will contain antivenom. Okay. So what is antivenom now? Antivenom consists of a preparation of antibodies which are specifically designed to neutralize the venom of a particular snake. So a particular snake, if a particular snake bites a person, so for that a particular antivenom will be prepared which will contain the antibodies which will help in neutralizing the venom or the poison which is injected by the snake to the human beings. So this is how the venom will be neutralized. Okay, let's move to the last question. So the last question is, at what stage does the Plasmodium parasite enter into a human body to cause malaria? So the Plasmodium is a parasite that causes the disease malaria. So at what stage that Plasmodium enters into the human being to spread this disease? So the Plasmodium parasite enters the human body during the sporozoite stage. So this is the first stage where the Plasmodium virus will enter into the human body. So from there, when the female Anopheles mosquito bites a human being, through the saliva, this sporozoite stage of Plasmodium will enter into the human body to cause malaria.